My name is Richard, and I used to live what I thought was the perfect life. My wife Lisa and I had everything anyone could ask for: a beautiful home in an upscale neighborhood, a thriving business, and two wonderful children. We were the picture of success, often admired by friends and colleagues for our seemingly flawless life. Lisa was not just my wife, she was also a dedicated philanthropist. Her involvement in various charitable organizations was a source of great pride for both of us. Her work ranged from organizing local fundraisers to leading initiatives for global causes. It was her passion and commitment that often kept her busy, but I admired her for it. Her heart was as big as her ambition, and she truly believed in making the world a better place. Our family life was grounded in love and mutual respect. We had regular family dinners, and our weekends were filled with outings and activities that brought us closer together. Our children, Emily and Jake, were growing up in an environment full of opportunities and support. They thrived in school and enjoyed their extracurricular activities, all under the watchful and loving eyes of their parents. Despite the apparent perfection, there were times when Lisa's dedication to her causes meant she was not always available. Her work was demanding, often requiring late nights and weekend commitments. While I understood her passion, I sometimes missed the days when we had more time for each other. Yet, these were minor sacrifices in the grand scheme of our seemingly ideal life. Everything seemed to be in place, and we were moving forward with our plans for the future. Little did I know that beneath the surface of our perfect life, cracks were beginning to form, cracks that would soon shatter the life we had so carefully built. Lisa's interest in art therapy seemed to ignite a new spark within her. It began as a casual curiosity, but quickly evolved into a full-blown passion. She had always been an enthusiastic supporter of various charitable causes, but this was different. Art therapy was something deeply personal to her. One day, Lisa came home with a flyer for a local art studio, excitedly announcing that she had enrolled in art therapy classes. The studio was run by a new instructor, Amy, who had recently relocated to our town. Lisa spoke highly of Amy, describing her as a talented artist with a profound understanding of therapeutic practices. According to Lisa, Amy's approach combined creativity with emotional healing in a way that was both innovative and comforting. Lisa's enthusiasm for these classes was palpable. She would spend hours preparing for her sessions, selecting art supplies, and researching different techniques to discuss with Amy. Each class seemed to leave her energized and inspired, and she often came home with stories of the profound insights she had gained. Her excitement was infectious, but it also meant that her schedule was becoming increasingly packed. As Lisa's commitment to the art studio grew, so did the amount of time she spent there. Her classes extended into the evenings, and she began to take weekend workshops that focused on advanced techniques and personal development. The art studio, once a small part of her life, now seemed to dominate her schedule. She would often return home late, her mind still buzzing with ideas and reflections from her sessions. This shift in Lisa's routine began to impact our family life. Dinners became hurried affairs, and our weekends, which were once filled with family activities, were now often disrupted by her art commitments. While I tried to be supportive and understanding, I couldn't ignore the growing distance between us. Our conversations, once rich and engaging, had become superficial. The emotional connection we shared seemed to wane as Lisa's focus shifted more toward her new passion. Lisa's fascination with Amy's teachings seemed to extend beyond the studio. She would often talk about Amy's philosophies and how they resonated with her views. It was evident that Amy was not just a mentor, but also a significant influence in Lisa's life. I began to notice subtle changes in Lisa's behavior and attitudes, as if the teachings of art therapy were reshaping her worldview. Despite my growing concerns, I tried to remain supportive of Lisa's new interest. I understood that pursuing a passion could be transformative and fulfilling. Yet as her time at the studio increased, it became clear that this new chapter was more than just a hobby. It was becoming a central part of her identity, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it was driving a wedge between us. As Lisa's involvement with the art studio deepened, I began to notice some troubling changes. Her commitment to the classes became all-consuming. She frequently stayed late, often disappearing for entire weekends for workshops and special sessions. The time she spent away from home grew longer, and it seemed like her focus was increasingly on her art and her interactions with Amy. Her phone, once casually left around the house, was now always locked and kept close to her. When I would try to talk to her about her day or ask her a simple question, she would deflect or change the subject. The intimacy and ease of our conversations started to fade, replaced by a noticeable distance. It was as if there were a barrier between us that I couldn't quite penetrate. One evening, after Lisa had left for yet another late class, I found myself wandering through her study. I had never snooped through her personal belongings before, but a nagging feeling made me curious. As I glanced around the room, I noticed a small leather-bound journal tucked away on a high shelf. It was out of place, and something compelled me to look inside. I hesitated for a moment, but my curiosity got the better of me. I carefully opened the journal and began to read. The pages were filled with Lisa's handwritten notes about her art classes, but it was the last few entries that caught my eye. They were deeply personal, expressing her growing emotional connection with Amy. Lisa wrote about the profound impact Amy had on her life, how their conversations had turned into something more intimate, and how she had begun to develop feelings for her. The entries revealed that their relationship had evolved beyond a professional connection. Lisa's words conveyed a mix of excitement and guilt, describing moments of closeness and affection that went beyond the boundaries of friendship. It became clear that what I had suspected was true. Lisa and Amy were involved in a romantic relationship. The realization hit me hard. I felt a wave of betrayal and sadness as I read through Lisa's confessions. Her emotions were raw and genuine, but they confirmed my worst fears. Lisa had fallen for Amy, and their relationship had become more than just a passing interest. It was now an affair that was deeply entwined with her daily life and emotions. As I closed the journal and put it back on the shelf, a heavy silence filled the room. The life I had thought was perfect had been shattered by this revelation. I was left grappling with a mixture of anger, hurt, and confusion. The person I thought I knew so well had changed in ways I couldn't have imagined, and I was left to face the reality of a relationship that had been deeply compromised. The evening I decided to confront Lisa, I felt a mix of dread and resolve. My mind was clouded with the heavy burden of what I had discovered, and I knew there was no more room for denial. Lisa had just come home from another long session at the art studio, her face still flushed with the afterglow of her passion for her work. We sat down at the kitchen table. The space where we had shared countless conversations over the years now felt like a battleground. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart, and pulled out the journal I had found. Its leather cover seemed to weigh heavier than I remembered. "Lisa, we need to talk," I began, my voice betraying the tremor I felt inside. She looked at me with a mixture of curiosity and concern, but I could see the faintest hint of apprehension in her eyes. I placed the journal on the table between us, the pages open to the incriminating entries. Her eyes widened as she saw the words she had written. For a moment there was silence, thick and oppressive. Lisa's face turned pale, her usual composure slipping as she processed the gravity of the situation. I didn't mean for you to find that," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. "Richard, I didn't know how to tell you." I could hardly contain my hurt as I looked at her. "So it's true then? You and Amy, it's more than just a friendship?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Lisa nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "Yes, it's true. I never intended for this to happen, but Amy and I grew close in ways I never expected. It started with our shared interest in art therapy, but it evolved into something deeper, something I couldn't control." Her words were a knife to my heart. I had suspected as much, but hearing it confirmed was a different kind of pain. I struggled to process the reality of her betrayal. "You were spending all this time with her, all these weekends and late nights. I thought you were just engrossed in your classes, but you were building a life with someone else." Lisa's tears began to fall freely. "I'm so sorry, Richard. I never wanted to hurt you. Amy and I connected on an emotional level that I didn't anticipate. It became something real, something that I couldn't just ignore." Her apology felt hollow to me. The depth of her feelings for Amy, the way she had hidden it from me, all of it combined into a whirlwind of emotions that left me feeling utterly devastated. "So where does that leave us?" I asked, my voice cracking. Lisa looked away, her face contorted with regret. "I don't know. I've been so focused on trying to make sense of my feelings that I didn't think about how this would affect you. I know I've let you down in the worst way possible." As the weight of her words sank in, I felt a profound sense of betrayal. The life we had built together, the trust we had shared, it was all unraveling before my eyes. Lisa's admission only served to deepen the chasm between us. I was left grappling with the realization that the person I had trusted most was now the source of my greatest heartbreak. The conversation ended with a heavy silence. Lisa's presence in the room was a painful reminder of the life we had lost, and I was left alone with my thoughts, struggling to come to terms with the devastation of her betrayal. The decision to divorce Lisa was made with a heavy heart and a deep sense of resignation. Once the truth was laid bare, it became clear that our marriage could not be salvaged. Lisa's departure to live with Amy marked the end of our life together and initiated a painful and contentious process of separation. The divorce proceedings were anything but straightforward. From the beginning, it was evident that Lisa was determined to fight for her share of everything we had built together. The emotional toll was immense, and the legal battles seemed endless. Every aspect of our lives was scrutinized, from our financial assets to our personal belongings. The process dragged on, marked by heated arguments and bitter exchanges. One day, during a particularly tense meeting with our financial advisor, I stumbled upon an alarming discovery. It appeared that significant sums of money from Lisa's charitable endeavors were missing. The funds, which were supposed to be allocated to various causes and projects, had been diverted elsewhere. The evidence suggested that Lisa was using these resources to finance her new life with Amy. The revelation was shocking and infuriating. The money that was meant to help those in need was being siphoned off to support Lisa's personal choices. It felt like an additional layer of betrayal, one that compounded the pain of her emotional infidelity. I was faced with the grim task of exposing this misuse of funds, knowing it would only add to the already tense atmosphere. As I began to investigate further, I found more discrepancies. Lisa had made large withdrawals and transfers that did not align with the charitable contributions she had previously championed. It became apparent that she was leveraging her position in the charity to fund a lavish lifestyle with Amy. The thought of this exploitation was a bitter pill to swallow. The discovery of these financial irregularities led to a new phase in the divorce process. I had to confront Lisa with this information, and the confrontation was just as difficult as the initial revelation of her affair. She tried to justify her actions, claiming that the funds were needed for personal expenses related to their new life. However, her explanations did little to mitigate the damage done. The legal team and the courts were now involved in sorting out these financial misappropriations. The process became even more complex, as I sought to ensure that Lisa was held accountable for her actions. It was clear that the situation had escalated from a personal betrayal to a matter of legal and ethical concern. Throughout this tumultuous period, I struggled to maintain my composure and focus on the well-being of our children. The divorce and the ensuing financial scandal took a heavy toll on me emotionally and mentally. The ideal life I once knew had crumbled, replaced by a bitter and protracted legal battle. Lisa's departure to live with Amy, coupled with her misuse of charitable funds, left me grappling with a deep sense of loss and betrayal. The life we had once shared was irreparably shattered, and I was left to navigate the fallout, trying to rebuild and come to terms with the reality of the situation. In the wake of Lisa's betrayal and the misuse of charitable funds, I was left grappling with a profound sense of injustice and anger. The ideal life we had once shared had been shattered, not only by her emotional infidelity, but also by the misuse of the very causes she had championed. The realization that Lisa had exploited her position for personal gain ignited a fierce desire for retribution. I was determined to expose her wrongdoing and hold her accountable for the harm she had caused. My plan for revenge was to use the evidence of Lisa's financial misconduct as leverage. I wanted to ensure that she faced the full consequences of her actions, not just in the divorce but also in the court of public opinion. I knew that exposing her misdeeds could have far-reaching repercussions for her reputation and her involvement in charitable work. It was a way to not only seek justice for myself, but also to prevent her from continuing to exploit her position. The first step in my plan was to gather concrete evidence of Lisa's financial malfeasance. I realized that simply accusing her of wrongdoing would not be enough. I needed undeniable proof to substantiate my claims and make a compelling case. To achieve this, I decided to enlist the help of a private investigator. I began the process of hiring a private detective with careful consideration. I needed someone with experience in financial investigations and a track record of uncovering hidden assets and fraudulent activities. After a thorough search, I found a reputable investigator named Mark, who came highly recommended for his work in exposing financial crimes. Mark and I met to discuss the scope of the investigation. I provided him with all the information I had gathered so far, including records of suspicious transactions and discrepancies in the charitable accounts. I explained the situation in detail, emphasizing the need to uncover how Lisa and Amy had manipulated the funds for their personal use. The investigation began in earnest. Mark's team worked diligently to track the flow of money, scrutinizing financial statements, bank records, and transaction histories. They employed forensic accounting techniques to trace the movement of funds and identify any patterns or irregularities. The process was meticulous and time-consuming, but it was essential to build a solid case. As weeks passed, Mark's team uncovered a series of troubling revelations. They discovered that Lisa had been funneling significant amounts of money from charitable accounts into personal bank accounts. These funds were used to finance lavish expenses, including luxury vacations and high-end purchases for both Lisa and Amy. The evidence showed a clear pattern of financial manipulation and deceit. In addition to the financial records, Mark's team interviewed several individuals involved in the charity who corroborated the misuse of funds. These testimonies provided further validation of Lisa's misconduct and painted a clearer picture of her exploitation of the charitable organization. With the evidence in hand, I prepared to take action. I knew that exposing Lisa's financial wrongdoing would not only serve as a form of retribution, but also highlight the importance of accountability in charitable work. My goal was to ensure that her actions were brought to light and that she faced the consequences of her betrayal. The plan was to present the findings to the media and the relevant authorities, ensuring that Lisa's misuse of charitable funds was fully exposed. It was a calculated move, aimed at not just seeking justice for myself, but also ensuring that Lisa could no longer hide behind the facade of her philanthropic persona. The investigation provided me with the ammunition I needed to confront Lisa's actions and seek retribution. As I prepared to reveal the evidence, I was determined to see this through to the end, no matter the personal cost. The pursuit of justice had become a mission, and I was ready to take the necessary steps to ensure that Lisa's actions were fully accounted for. With the evidence of Lisa's financial misconduct firmly in hand, I felt a grim satisfaction at the prospect of exposing the truth. I knew that the impact of such a revelation would be significant, but it was a step I felt compelled to take. I wanted the public to see the full extent of Lisa's betrayal and her abuse of the charitable platform she once championed. To make the public disclosure as impactful as possible, I decided to organize a press conference. The venue was a well-known downtown conference hall, chosen for its capacity and accessibility. I meticulously planned every detail to ensure that the presentation of the evidence would be clear and compelling. On the day of the press conference, the hall was abuzz with activity. Journalists from major news outlets, local media, and a few curious onlookers filled the room. I stood at the podium, my hands slightly trembling with a mix of anxiety and resolve. Mark, the private investigator, was present to corroborate the findings and answer any questions regarding the investigation. The press conference began, and I presented the evidence in a structured and methodical manner. I displayed documents, bank statements, and transaction records that illustrated the misuse of charitable funds. Mark provided a detailed account of the investigation process, explaining how the funds had been misappropriated and the extent of the financial misconduct. The reaction from the media was immediate and intense. Flashbulbs popped, and reporters began shouting questions as the implications of the evidence sank in. The story quickly captured the attention of news outlets nationwide. Headlines blared with sensational reports of the scandal, and it wasn't long before Lisa and Amy's names were all over the news. The media frenzy continued to grow as more details emerged. Television news programs ran continuous coverage of the scandal, and online articles spread the story far and wide. Social media platforms were abuzz with discussions and debates about the case, with people expressing outrage and disappointment over the misuse of charitable funds. Lisa and Amy's previously pristine public image was now marred by the scandal. The fallout from the public exposure was swift and severe. Lisa and Amy found themselves facing a wave of public condemnation and legal repercussions. The once celebrated charitable project that Lisa had led began to unravel. Donors who had once supported the cause withdrew their contributions, and the organization faced an unprecedented loss of credibility. Lisa's attempts to salvage her reputation were futile. The damage had been done, and the public's perception of her as a devoted philanthropist was irrevocably tarnished. Her role in the charity was terminated, and she became a symbol of betrayal in the world of philanthropy. The media coverage was relentless, and her every move was scrutinized by journalists and the public alike. Amy, too, faced intense scrutiny and backlash. Although less known before the scandal, she became a focal point in the media coverage. The association with Lisa's financial misconduct brought her under the same harsh spotlight. The public's reaction was unforgiving, and Amy's reputation suffered as a result. The legal consequences followed swiftly. Authorities launched investigations into the financial irregularities, and both Lisa and Amy faced potential criminal charges. Legal proceedings began to unfold, and the prospect of facing charges for fraud and embezzlement loomed over them. The fallout was not just limited to public shame, it included serious legal repercussions that could have long-lasting effects on their lives and careers. In the wake of the scandal, the once thriving charitable project collapsed. The organization struggled to recover from the financial and reputational damage inflicted by Lisa's actions. Many of the beneficiaries who had relied on the charity were left in limbo, their support now uncertain due to the scandal's ripple effects. As the dust settled, Lisa and Amy were left to confront the consequences of their actions. The public's judgment and the legal ramifications were a harsh reminder of the costs of their deceit. The scandal had not only destroyed their personal lives, but also caused significant harm to the causes they once purported to support. In the end, the quest for retribution brought the truth to light and ensured that justice was pursued. The fallout from the scandal was a harsh but necessary consequence of Lisa and Amy's betrayal. For me, it was a bittersweet resolution to a chapter of profound personal loss and disillusionment. The fallout from the scandal had profound effects on both Lisa and Amy. Lisa's reputation, once held in high regard within the philanthropic community, was now in tatters. The exposure of her financial misconduct had irreversibly damaged her standing, and she faced significant public backlash. The media coverage was relentless, painting her as a symbol of betrayal and corruption. Financially, Lisa was left in a precarious position. The charitable organization she had once led was in shambles, and many of the donors who had supported her were now distant. The legal battles had drained her resources, and she found herself struggling to maintain even a semblance of stability. Her previous life of comfort and privilege was replaced by uncertainty and hardship. Amy, too, bore the brunt of the public scorn. Though she had been less prominent before the scandal, her association with Lisa ensured that she was swept into the storm. The once respected art therapist now faced widespread contempt. The negative publicity severely impacted her professional life and personal relationships. The once vibrant and hopeful future that Lisa and Amy had envisioned together was now overshadowed by the harsh reality of their actions. The pressure of public disdain and legal troubles took a toll on Lisa and Amy's relationship. The romantic bond that had once seemed so promising began to fray under the weight of their shared predicament. Disputes over finances, legal issues, and the constant scrutiny from the media strained their connection. The harmony they once enjoyed was replaced by tension and discord, leading to frequent arguments and a growing emotional distance. As the cracks in their relationship widened, it became apparent that the dream they had built together was unraveling. The external pressures only magnified the internal issues, and their once strong relationship began to crumble. The support and unity they had found in each other during their illicit affair now seemed insufficient to withstand the consequences of their actions. Amid this turmoil, Lisa made an unexpected decision. After experiencing the full weight of her downfall and realizing the extent of her mistakes, she reached out to me. It was a gesture of vulnerability and desperation, marked by her acknowledgement of the errors she had made and the sincere desire to mend her life. Lisa approached me with a mixture of humility and hope. She expressed deep regret for her actions and acknowledged the pain she had caused. Her plea was for assistance, not just for financial help, but for a chance to rebuild her life and restore some semblance of stability. She hoped that by reaching out to me, she might find a path to redemption. Her request was met with a range of emotions: I was taken aback by the sudden turn of events and the complexity of her appeal. Lisa's attempt to reconnect was not just a plea for personal aid, but also an opportunity for her to seek forgiveness and a fresh start. She was seeking a second chance to recover from the wreckage of her life, a chance to rebuild her reputation and move forward. Despite the emotional weight of her request, I struggled to reconcile my feelings of betrayal with her current plea for help. The pain and disillusionment I had experienced were still fresh, and Lisa's actions had left an indelible mark on my life. The idea of offering her assistance, especially after the damage she had caused, was a difficult proposition. Faced with Lisa's appeal, I made a firm decision. I chose to refuse her request for help and to express my disdain openly. Her attempt to salvage her reputation and rebuild her life, though sincere, was perceived as an affront to the depth of the betrayal I had endured. The request for assistance was a stark reminder of the pain she had inflicted, and it felt like an attempt to rewrite history without acknowledging the full extent of her actions. I conveyed my refusal clearly, articulating my feelings of contempt for her efforts to regain her standing. I explained that the hurt she had caused was still raw, and that offering support at this juncture seemed incompatible with the gravity of her betrayal. The emotional turmoil and the breach of trust had left scars that could not be mended simply through an appeal for help. The idea of extending a hand of support felt like an unjust compromise, one that did not align with the deep sense of injustice I had experienced. My decision was not made lightly. It was rooted in a deep-seated desire to protect my well-being and maintain my sense of integrity. Lisa's actions inflicted significant emotional damage and disrupted the fabric of my life. I was resolute in my stance to move forward without any further involvement in her affairs. Her betrayal had been profound, and extending any form of assistance would have felt like diminishing the seriousness of her misconduct and my suffering. I made it clear that I had no intention of helping her restore her reputation or aid in her recovery. This decision was not merely a reaction to her request, but a conscious choice to set boundaries and reclaim my narrative. It was essential for me to ensure that my journey toward healing was not hindered by unresolved issues or lingering connections with those who had caused such distress. As I focused on rebuilding my own life and finding closure, I felt a sense of liberation. The end of my involvement with Lisa marked a new chapter in my journey. It was an opportunity to move forward without the lingering shadow of her betrayal, and I was committed to pursuing my path of healing and growth. The decision to sever ties with Lisa was a crucial step in this process, allowing me to forge ahead without the emotional baggage of the past. The liberation I felt was not just from Lisa's presence, but from the weight of the past. It allowed me to embrace new opportunities and dedicate myself to endeavors that aligned with my values and aspirations. The process of moving on involved not just leaving behind the pain, but actively pursuing a future where I could build something positive and meaningful. With each step I took away from the tumultuous period, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and clarity. The commitment to my healing and growth became a guiding principle, and I resolved to continue on this path with determination. The freedom from the entanglements of the past enabled me to focus on creating a life defined by positive action and personal fulfillment. In letting go of the past, I was able to embrace the future with a sense of optimism and resolve, ready to build a new chapter in my life on my terms. Emerging from the wreckage of my personal life, I found myself at a crossroads. The tumultuous period of betrayal, legal battles, and public scandal had left me battered but resolute. With Lisa and Amy's downfall behind me, I was determined to find a new purpose and to rebuild my life on a foundation of positive action. In the wake of such profound personal turmoil, I sought a way to channel my energy into something constructive. The pain and disillusionment I had experienced could not be undone, but I realized that I had the power to transform my life by focusing on helping others. I decided to immerse myself in community and social work, finding solace and fulfillment in making a tangible difference in the lives of those in need. I began by researching local organizations and charitable causes that aligned with my values. I reached out to various nonprofits, eager to offer my time, resources, and expertise. My goal was to contribute meaningfully and to support initiatives that addressed critical issues such as poverty, education, and mental health. One of the first projects I became involved with was a community outreach program aimed at providing mentorship and support to underprivileged youth. This program focused on offering guidance, educational resources, and emotional support to young people facing significant challenges. I found great satisfaction in working directly with the youth, sharing my experiences, and helping them navigate their struggles. The opportunity to be a positive role model and to witness the growth and progress of these young individuals was deeply rewarding. Additionally, I became actively involved in a local food bank initiative. This organization worked tirelessly to address food insecurity in the community, distributing meals and supplies to families in need. I participated in various roles, from organizing food drives to assisting with distribution efforts. The sense of purpose I derived from these activities was profound, and I found a renewed sense of hope in the collective effort to combat hunger and support those facing economic hardships. My involvement in these projects allowed me to connect with others who shared a passion for social justice and community service. I built relationships with like-minded individuals and organizations, collaborating on events and initiatives that aim to create a positive impact. These connections not only enriched my experience, but also provided me with a support network that reinforced my commitment to charitable work. As I continued to engage in these activities, I discovered that my healing was intertwined with the work I was doing. Helping others provided a sense of purpose and fulfillment that had been absent in the aftermath of my crisis. The act of giving back became a source of empowerment and growth, allowing me to redefine my identity in a way that was aligned with my values and aspirations. The positive impact of my involvement extended beyond the immediate community. My active participation in these causes garnered recognition and support from local media and community leaders. I was invited to speak at events and contribute to discussions on social issues, using my platform to advocate for meaningful change. This newfound visibility helped to reshape my public image, showcasing my dedication to philanthropy and community service. Through my efforts, I was able to build a new narrative for myself, one that was centered on compassion, resilience, and positive impact. The satisfaction derived from helping others and contributing to meaningful causes far outweighed the pain of the past. I had found a new focus, one that not only provided personal fulfillment, but also allowed me to make a difference in the lives of others. As I looked forward, I remained committed to continuing my work in social and charitable endeavors. The journey of recovery and renewal was ongoing, but each step I took towards helping others reaffirmed my belief in the power of positive change. My life had taken on a new direction, one that was defined by purpose and the desire to make a lasting positive impact on the world around me. As the turbulent waves of the past began to recede, I found myself in a reflective state, evaluating the journey I had traversed. The pursuit of vengeance against Lisa and Amy, while initially gratifying, had proven to be a temporary balm for the wounds of betrayal. The public exposure of their wrongdoing and the subsequent fallout provided a fleeting sense of justice, but I realized that this satisfaction was not the end of my odyssey. In the aftermath of the scandal, the sense of vindication I had experienced began to fade, replaced by a more profound and enduring realization. I came to understand that the true resolution lay not in the act of revenge itself, but in the way I chose to move forward with my life. The immediate relief and the public shaming had been necessary steps, but they were not the ultimate goal. The real transformation came when I redirected my focus toward building a new life centered on positive action and personal fulfillment. My involvement in community and charitable projects became the cornerstone of this new chapter. This shift in focus allowed me to channel my energy into something that offered true and lasting satisfaction. Joining community initiatives and engaging in meaningful charitable work provided a profound sense of purpose. I immersed myself in efforts that addressed critical issues such as education, poverty alleviation, and mental health support. The work was challenging and often required a significant commitment of time and resources, but it was deeply rewarding. Each project, whether it involved mentoring underprivileged youth, organizing food drives, or supporting local nonprofits, became a testament to the positive change I was striving to create. Through these experiences, I discovered a new dimension of fulfillment. Helping others and being part of a collective effort to improve the lives of those in need offered a sense of accomplishment that transcended the temporary satisfaction of revenge. It was in these acts of service that I found a renewed sense of identity and purpose. The joy derived from contributing to something greater than myself far outweighed any momentary triumph over my past adversaries. Moreover, the focus on community service and personal growth positively impacted my family. Seeing my loved ones thrive and witnessing their happiness as I engaged in meaningful work brought immense joy. The positive changes in my own life reverberated through our family dynamics, strengthening our relationships and fostering a sense of collective well-being. The support and encouragement of my family became a crucial element in my journey of healing and renewal. The emotional scars from the past remained, but they no longer defined my sense of self or my outlook on life. The pain and disillusionment of betrayal had been replaced by a deeper understanding of what truly mattered. The pursuit of vengeance had been an important step, but it was the creation of a new, positive life that provided lasting fulfillment. I came to appreciate that the real achievement was not in the public exposure of Lisa and Amy's wrongdoings, but in the way I had transformed my life in response to those challenges. The journey from betrayal to renewal had been arduous, marked by moments of intense struggle and reflection. Yet, it had also led to a place of genuine contentment and peace. As I continued to build upon this newfound perspective, I understood that the path forward was one of ongoing growth and positive action. The trials of the past had shaped me, but they had also given me the clarity to appreciate the true value of a life lived with purpose and compassion. The focus was no longer on the shadows of betrayal, but on the light of new beginnings and the joy of contributing to a better world. In this final reflection, I recognized that the essence of a meaningful life lay in the ability to rise above adversity and embrace opportunities for positive change. The ultimate victory was not in the defeat of others, but in the creation of a life filled with purpose, fulfillment, and the ongoing commitment to making a difference.